Hi, this is Captain Grizz from the Northlink Learning Center. We're doing a test here of Camtasia, our studio microphone, and FSX. Now we've already turned on the power supply necessary to get us going. We've got the APU going, and now we're going to add the APU generators. Now we have power that we can actually get up and running, do the things we need to do. Now this is not checklist power, this is just operating power for the aircraft. Now we'll bring up the CDU, and we're going to check the CDU, and there we go. All right, we show what we've got. Now we're going to go to position initialization, and we're also going to bring up the aft overhead, and what we're going to do is start aligning the IRS. We go up to nav on that one, we go up to nav on that one. You see an align button pick up here, align button says it's there, and we're in good shape there. Now what we need to do is to tell the CDU where we're at. We pick that up and we go to reference. Now what we do is go to the RSK2, and we choose that RSK2, and you see what happens. It moves it right down here into the scratch pad. Now on the CDU, anytime there are boxes on the CDU, it's asking us, it's saying, I want some information. You've got to input some information. Now, the way that we do things is that we pick this button up here, the RSK2. We've got it into the scratch pad. Now, it's in the scratch pad, we can transfer to the screen itself by using RSK4. Now we are starting to align the IRS. Word of caution here. Do not, under any circumstances, move the aircraft until the IRS is totally aligned. Okay? And we'll see that down here in the lower panels. When it's totally aligned, they will come up to their full operational power. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is to go to the perf-init, or the performance initialization page, and we're going to pick the LSK3, which is right next to the zero fuel weight. Our reserves, we're going to be running about 37% as far as our reserves are concerned. Our cost index is 25. Usually on this 737NG-800, we normally run a cost index from 20 to 50. All right. Now, next thing we're going to do is to input the actual flight level. Now, on the CDU, now if you saw down below here, you just saw those come on, right? That means the IRS is aligned. Back to cruise altitude. Now, to reach happy cruise, our cruise is going to be 25,000 feet. We don't have to put in flight level 250. All we have to do is put in 250, hit RSK1, and it brings it into us complete. Okay, we'll pick execute. Now we're starting to put our flight together. We'll bypass the N1 because I use that just as it is. It's default. Now we're going to set the flaps. We're going to take off with the flaps of 5. The center of gravity is already calculated for us. And we can see here that it's 24.8, and our elevator trim is going to be 5.57. One other thing I want to show you here, you look over here at our V-speeds. When you choose the RSK next to the V-speeds, they'll get bigger. You see that? They get bigger, bigger, and bigger. What that means is that we have now chosen those as our V-speeds, and it recognizes it. And we're going to Spokane, which is KGEG. Go. Okay. Now go back to our legs page. So we don't have anything there. So we're going to depart. We go to depart. We're going to leave Seattle. We pick the LSK1. We're going to leave on runway 16 left, and we're going to use a SID of Mountain 6. Basically, it's a very simple SID. All we do is leave from the north end of the airport to the south end, go to a Nietzsche waypoint and turn left, and then we're on our way to Spokane. Okay. Now we know we're going to Spokane. We don't know where we're going to arrive when we get there or anything like that, but we know how the direction we are going to get there. We're going to go to arrivals, and we're going to pick a star, and that star is Zoomer 1, and our transition is going to be over Moses Lake, MWH. There we go. Now we've got our legs page put together. We've got some stuff in there. We're not going to use ATC, so we're not going to need vectors to start with, that's for sure. Then, I happen to know that there is a really cool VAMPS, and that is a waypoint that's intermediate for us. We'll choose it. And then, as you see, we got boxes here. It's asking us to put something in there. What we're going to do is we're going to copy Moses Lake down to the scratch pad. We've got it in the scratch pad, and then we're going to hit LSK4 to put it in there. Now I've got those set. Now we're ready to activate the flight. We go activate and execute. Once we do that, we're saying we're using reserve fuel. So let's go back to the ref, and let's clear that out. Now the clear button works either as a single letter, or it will clear out the whole line if you hold it down. We're looking at reserves at 37%. We think, well, that's not right. And I've recalculated it, and it looks to me like we're using about 34%. So we'll put 34 in there. And just covers up the other one. And then execute. From now on, anytime you see that execute light, that's the one that you want to push. Okay. All right. Now, it looks like we've got some legs to go here, but we've got to make some changes here. We're not going to go blasting out of the sky, especially right here at the runway. So we're going to add in 210. We're going to run 210 knots. And once we put in 210, then we hit the slash bar. And that's all we have to do. It's in the scratch pad. We'll go up here to RSK2, put it in. You can see it modify, lights up here. Our input lights up here, and we just hit execute. When we hit execute, we've got it. Vamps, we don't want to be too fast, so we'll go 240 knots. And I would really like to hit vamps about 12,000 feet. So remember, we only have to put over 10,000 feet. We only have to put in 3 figures. So 12,000 feet is 120. Now it's in the scratch pad. Now we go up to the vamps waypoint, click it, execute it, and we're at 240 at 12,000 feet. The other thing I know is that I do not wish to go screaming into and zoomer. We're going to make some changes there. We're going to go drop to 210 knots at 10,000 feet. 210/100. In there, we got it. Now we've got something going here. Now let's go to the next page on legs, and we see a gangs there. Well, we're not even going to go to gangs, so I'm going to delete that. We know that right off the bat. We're not even going in that way. So we go delete. You see delete in the scratch pad. We choose the LSK1, and it goes away, and we execute. All right, now we have a working flight plan all set and ready to go to Spokane. That's as far as we need to go. We'll finish setting up the CDU after we reach cruise altitude. We've got plenty of time to do it. We'll do our finish off. We'll know where we're going to go in when we get there as far as what runway we're going in, and we'll get an idea about our speeds and stuff too. All right, so we're going to be using that star going in, and it's already, most of it will be preset as far as our altitudes are concerned. Okay. All right, so just to verify, let's do this. We're in legs right now. We're going to go to the EFIS, and we're going to click over to the plan, PLN. Now, watch what happens down here. We can bring it up so you can see it. Now, over here at RSK6, we have the word step. Once we do that, we push that button. Each time, our flight is going to change, and we'll be able to see our flight pattern, our flight path. Okay, that looks good. That's as far as we're going to go as far as programming is concerned before we leave Seattle. All right, so now we go over here, go back to map. We've got that. Close this out. Now the next thing I want to do is let's get our collision avoidance set up. We go to our lower panel, or our console panel, and one of the things I like is I always hit test right here. You can see where I'm at. We're going to hit test for our TCAS. And I don't feel very good until I hear the guy tell me that it's really good. It works.
TCAS system test OK.
Now that makes me feel good because I know it works. Now we'll go to TA/RA. The other thing we're going to do, and remember I told you that I have extraneous panels. I've got my radios, my SATEC radios, a multi-panel, rudder pedals, a yoke, trim wheel, and a couple of throttle quadrants. Okay, so if I can remember, when I do that, I'll tell you what I'm doing because you won't be able to see it on the screen. So now I'm going to go down and pick out our transponder, What we're going to do is we're going to set the transponder for 7600. The reason for that is we're not flying with ATC, and just in case anybody's interested, we basically are saying that we have an in-op radio. All right, so they know that we're not going to be able to hear them or talk to them. All right. The other thing is to turn on the flight director. We turn on the flight director here, and we'll be setting up the rest of this after we finish doing the checklist for the overhead. The checklist for the overhead is fairly simple. Remember now, we've already got our passengers loaded, so we're just making way to get out of Dodge here. The first thing I start with is the yaw damper. I turn it on. Then the next thing we do is turn on all 4 fuel pumps, and we leave the center fuel pumps off, obviously, because we don't have any fuel in the center tank. The next thing we go to, and we're going to just monitor it here, we're going to go up here to APU generator, and we're going to monitor it to make sure, and we've got 400 cycles, we've got 115 volts, and we are drawing 74 amps. So we're powered up. APU is looking good. All right. Now the next thing we do is we go down to we don't need to worry about anything about the equipment cooling, because the supply and exhaust there's normal. We can do an alternate, but we don't need to because it's working fine. The next thing to do is arm the emergency exit lights. Turn on the no smoking in the passenger sign. I always leave the no smoking on anyway, so because it's non-smoking anywhere in an aircraft. To the next row, we click on the window heat. Under that is the probe heat. Under that is the anti-icing. It's warm, we don't have to worry about it. Now we turn on the 2 electric hydraulic pumps. That's ready to go. Anti-collision light is on. Actually, I messed up there. It should have been on anyway. Anytime you've got an engine of any kind running on an aircraft, on the ground, in the airport, you need to have that beacon light moving, okay? Now we're going to set up the cabin, the creature comforts here. With forward cabin and the aft cabin. And we're also going to go up here so we can monitor it properly. We're going to turn on the air trim, all right? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on the recirculating pumps. Our packs are off because we're getting ready to start the aircraft. We're getting ready to momentarily call up for pushback, all right? Okay, now it takes care of that. Now, on the MCS, we're going to set our speed, our takeoff speed, at about 180, 170, in there somewhere. Now we're going to leave on runway 16, so our heading, just in case I need it, is 163. Because normally we're hand flying and controlling the aircraft all the way up to about 1,500 feet or so. So at RTO. And now one other thing is the auto throttle arm and the flaps will set on the taxiway going out. Okay, we are ready for pushback right now. All right, well, let's just take a quick outside look here. Yep, here we are. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to call for pushback. Emergency brake is on, or parking brake if you want to call it that. We're going to, now I like to use GSX because it keeps me, when it sets me back there and pushes me out, it gives me a location that's right on the lines, okay? Don't have to guess, no guessing, all right?